be happy. Why not just be happy? Don't stop.
And part of that is I'm not so sure I'm going to be able to finish my whole truckload of thoughts today. So I'm going to take it one step at a time, and if I don't get to all the topics, don't worry, I'll be back in 3 weeks and finish up.
Fantastic. We would love to have you, yes.
So, first of all, as I have mentioned before, the way the world works, not only are we unconscious, we really do not know what we're doing, in the sense that we are driven by our egos, and our egos want us to believe that we are our egos. And when you look at the world condition today, I just had this other thought, oh my goodness, with all the opportunities of the gifts of beauty and diversity of all kinds of people and animals and trees and flowers, why do we go to war? Why do we spend $200 billion like we did in the Vietnam War? I call that madness. And my determination is to bring light to that darkness.
Be happy. Why not just be happy? Don't stop.
Yes.
There's no sense, from my point of view, to politically agitate to fight darkness with darkness. So having said that, you probably don't know who you are. And I've touched on this subject before, and I will continue to do so, so you can get a really good sense of who you are not. And so I'm going to divide something here like I did before, human and being. Human is the ego with all of the trappings that we think we are, and being is our divinity. And I'm going to again emphasize who we are not and allow you from that point of view to begin to discover who you really are. So let's get two things straight. Number one, in your divinity, you have part of the Creator's soul. Your soul is a divine piece of the Creator's soul. As it says in Genesis, in the Old Testament, we are created in the image and likeness of God. So you know, it's not that we look like God, or we are as tall as God, or we weigh as much as God does. It's none of that. It's simply that our divinity from our soul is part of God's soul. And so I want to lay that as a foundation and then take you into who we are not and who the ego, or what the ego wants us to believe we are.
Interesting. It's like a blueprint of being.
Yeah?
Yeah, interesting. Go ahead. Let me understand.
So let me give you some examples of who you are not. And these are your life circumstances. You know, I made a list here, so I'm going to be looking down. You're not your sports. You're not your favorite sports team. You're not your work. You're not your hair. You're not your wealth or your poverty. You're not your education or your body, your abilities or disabilities, your weight, your personality, your ethnicity, your skin color, and finally, you're not your selection of sexuality, your expression of sexuality. And I'm going to focus on that last one today with the background of all the other things that I've listed here. And I just had the thought, this might help you think of who you are not. Let's say your family is going to take a 3-week camping trip. Now you can imagine all the stuff you have to take, tents and cookers and sleeping bags and different clothes and all of that. And I'm sure you would never say, oh, I'm my sleeping bag. Oh, I'm my cool chest. Oh, I'm my firewood. So why would you say, oh, I'm my wealth. I'm my poverty. I'm gay. I'm a gay. Or I'm lesbian. Why would you put that on yourself? It's simply the cargo you picked up before you were born, like packing that car to go camping. Before you were born, in conjunction with your guardian angels, your ancestors, and all of those other deities who are watching out for you, you made the choice, distinct, openly, and committedly, to be gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transsexual. And just to start out here, I want you to understand that to have selected this spiritual training in this lifetime is a monumental spiritual undertaking.
Be happy.
And committedly to be gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transsexual. And just to start out here, I want you to understand that to have selected this spiritual training in this lifetime is a monumental spiritual undertaking, and you are to be congratulated.
Be happy. Why not just be happy? Don't stop.
With all my heart, I express my heartfelt gratitude to you, because what you have taken on not only is designed by God to have all of the others, the 90%, we're 10% homosexual, the heterosexuals, for us to give up our judgments, face to God, and praise you as you deserve, not judge you or torture you or marginalize you. I want to emphasize that throughout this talk and perhaps even next week. Now, in order to solidify my commitment to you in my life, I come from two things. Number one, very likely I was gay or lesbian in a former lifetime. And I'm proud of that. And that was my spiritual training for those lifetimes. I could have been lesbian in one lifetime, gay in the other lifetime, bisexual in another lifetime, transsexual in another lifetime. God wants diversity. Do you think that the LGBTs sort of slipped by God? Like, something came in the back door. God didn't see it. No, He created you because He loves you and wants diversity in all aspects of our world. There are sea creatures. Now this, don't laugh at this. This is what's going on. Sea creatures who are feminine in the first half of their life and masculine in the second half of their life. Even in the Buddhist tradition, the Shinto tradition, we have a deity called male and female in the same body God.
Interesting.
So I want you to take that to heart as we begin this journey so that you can abandon the unconsciousness that the world presents to you by having you think you are all your circumstances, your wealth, your vitality, your strength, your body type, weight, whatever it is. That is all a mythology that keeps you trapped in unconsciousness. And I want to read to you now something I wrote quite some time ago when I was outlining a book called Angels Ascending. I entitled that book in honor of the LGBTs. And so let me read it. It's a declaration in which I join you in the celebration of your courageous choice to be LGBT in this lifetime. And we declare, we gays and lesbians were lovingly and intentionally created by the truly existing God. We, the two souls people, are the uniquely blessed children of God. We are male and female, the compassionate brothers and sisters of all humankind. We hold it as an inviolable truth that we are divine in nature, ascending to human divinity hand in hand with all men and women throughout the world. We were fashioned in the image and likeness of the Creator by noble design for a unique destiny to be personally discovered and privately fulfilled in service to the Creator God. Ultimately, we are deeply grateful to the Creator God for allowing us to experience this path of a rare spiritual gift as our destiny for this lifetime for the benefit of all of God's children. So be it, and that is what we declare. I'm hoping that you'll hold this in your heart and begin to see who you really are by turning away from the stereotypical unconsciousness of humanity. I've been on this consciousness path for almost 3 years. It has totally transformed my life because now I know who I am not. And I'm very clear that I get to proceed on the path of discovering who I am each moment of my life. And in this regard, I came across a paragraph in Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. And I'm going to read it to you, and then I read it to you in its full text.
A little bit more, Robert. There you go.
Read it to you.
Other side, this one? There, perfect.
Read it to you, and then we'll take one sentence at a time, and I'll clarify for you what he is saying.
Power of Now.
Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So I'm going to read it. The question the interviewer asked Eckhart Tolle is, in the quest for enlightenment, that's consciousness, is being gay a help or a hindrance, or does it not make any difference? And this is what Eckhart Tolle responds. As you approach adulthood, now this is very important because you youth out there, you are number one on my list to bring forth the goodness, the truth, and the beauty of who you really are and not what society claims you are and how it wants to use you. As you approach adulthood, uncertainty about your sexuality, followed by the realization that you are different from others, may force you to disidentify from socially conditioned patterns of thought and behavior. This will automatically raise your level of consciousness, notice the word consciousness, above that of the unconscious majority, whose members unquestioningly take on board all inherited patterns. That's essentially the ego, is all of those inherited patterns. In that respect, being gay can be a help. Being an outsider, to some extent, someone who does not fit in with others or is rejected by them for whatever reason, makes life difficult, but it also places you at an advantage as far as enlightenment, that is consciousness, is concerned. It takes you out of unconsciousness almost by force. The last sentence takes the other side, which is very important, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. On the other hand, if you then develop a sense of identity, if you develop the sense of identity that, oh yes, I'm gay, my soul is gay, I'm gay, I got to play the game, the gay game, that's where you begin to lose the possibility of consciousness. You have escaped one trap to fall into another. You will play roles and games dictated by a mental image you have of yourself as gay. You will become unconscious, just like the rest of us. you will become unreal. Underneath your ego mask, that's all the junk you put in the car to go camping, under your ego mask, you will become very unhappy. If this happens to you, being gay will have become a hindrance to rising to the level of enlightenment and consciousness. But you always get another chance, of course, because of your acute unhappiness. You may then break through into consciousness and enlightenment because you will have discovered that there's something definitely wrong with how society is structured.
Interesting, Robert. Thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful. It's like in a society, competition is literally impossible. How can we compete with the next individual when everyone is uniquely themselves? That's very, very profound. Yeah, can you read a little more there?
Well, that's the end of this section,
Yes.
but what I want to emphasize is, number one, most of us are driven by our ego.
Yes.
The ego wants Robert to think I am the ego. So I cause myself so much problems by the ups and downs of life, thinking, oh, that's my ego. I've got to be right. I can't be wrong. I have to be number one. I have to have the most money. I have to have the biggest house. That's where misery comes in. So the second thing is that part of this mysticism, this mythology of our society, of all societies, is the fact that the God we say exists does not exist. It's a mental concept created by religions to gain control of human beings. And I reference particularly the Catholic Church because that's how I grew up, and I know it most intimately. That God that we have worshiped in church, even in Christian communities, does not exist. So let me go on here and let's look at the first sentence. As you approach adulthood, uncertainty about your sexuality, followed by the realization that you are different from others, may force you to disidentify from socially conditioned patterns of thought and behavior. And that's what I invite you to do. Disidentify with all of what society presents. I was talking to a young lady today. She had great disappointment. She was working in a coffee shop. Nowhere to go exactly. And I said, well, how are you doing in college? Well, I'm taking some time off. She's obviously questioning because her soul knows it's not going to be nurtured in a college or university. Colleges and universities and schools in general, and there are exceptions. Thank God there are exceptions. But generally our educational system does not nurture the soul. So inviting the general public, the youth, I most certainly invite you to disidentify from everything that people say about who gays are. Now here's the absurdity. Here's the absurdity. The followers of Jesus, not all, but many followers of Jesus say God hates gays. God does not love gays. Gays are going to go to hell. That is so much untruth. I invite you, first of all, to disengage from that. Jesus never condemned gays and lesbians. And fancy this, 12 apostles, 72 disciples, 10% were gay. Many of the women around Jesus were lesbians. Did he discard them? Did he ignore them? Or did he choose them to be his apostles and disciples.
All right. Thank you, President. I'd like to interject something with it, if I may.
Of course.
Because you're sparking a light that's in me and, of course, all of the viewers out there, too. I'm great cheer, huh? And that is that whatever choice that we decide to be in our consciousness of who we are in this world, in this society, whichever we want to label ourselves, there is no requisition to an element to, in other words, there's no color, there's no price, there's no statue of who you are to be kind. Kindness is the bottom line to all of our existence of spirituality. Without being labeled, we have to focus on that. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I believe that kindness is the door that opens us to the three great virtues of acceptance, humility, and gratitude. And my dear lesbian and gay friends out there, I urge you to accept that who you say you are is simply your spiritual path, and to express great gratitude to the Creator that you are allowed to experience this spiritual journey, the most powerful spiritual journey available to human beings. More than celibacy, more than being black, more than being Jewish, you have taken on the quintessential spiritual challenge in all the world. And I pray that you will be proud of having taken that on. It is so essential. And so what do? If you don't live, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, you look to your divine soul. And you can say things like, I am that I am. That's the ultimate profound truth. You are your soul, your truly existing soul. And I recommend, as you see on the chart to my left, I recommend the possibility, if you're seeking a spiritual path, that you contact the Divine Light, Sukyo Mahikari, www.sukyomahikari.org. And if you're not so directly spiritually inclined, study. You notice I'm not saying read. Study Eckhart Tolle's book that I have listed there, A New Earth. It's truly a textbook for life. And myself, I'm currently studying this excellent companion, the two of them. And you can get them on Audible and listen to them as you drive about town.
Yeah, excellent companion, which is the now. Can you hold the book up again a little
Sure.
higher? Ah, the power of now. Yes, and hold it up to your left to right, left to right for the camera. Yeah, perfect. That's it. Because it's going back a little bit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the power of now, right?
That's correct.
Yes, interesting. Wow. Let me take a little break there for a moment, if I can.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the H.A.P.I Show. We have Robert Valverde again, talking about the power now and spiritual renaissance and world change to empower the youth and everyone to accept themselves for who they're being who they are. Because kindness has no color, no size, no gender, no amount of money, of course. Kindness is the balance of spirituality and the existence of balance in this world today. Robert Valverde is sharing this to you and to all of us with the world change. All right, here we go again. Robert, take it away.
Okay, so quickly, the difference between consciousness and intelligence is very, very important to know. We have very brilliant people in the world, great intelligence, great education, and they are so totally unconscious. They want war. They want to make money out of military machinery. That is unconscious. So I urge you, and I'm going to say this, I mentioned before about universities and colleges and high schools and elementary schools. If you find they do not nurture you, here's a key. If you stress and struggle to study and pass the exam, you are doing yourself spiritual and psychological damage. When you come from your divine being, from your divinity, you will discover two things. Number one, if going to a university or staying in high school does not nurture you, you will stop going. If you find that going to a university, staying in high school does lighten up your life, perfect. Continue. And let me go quickly back to the idea of the youth. So youth, all of you young people out there, I am providing for you a place to go when you drop out, whether it's high school or college. Your soul knows you are not being nurtured. Your soul knows that the knowledge you are taking in leads you nowhere. So I urge you to take advantage of the topics I've listed on the chart to my left and the Eckhart Tolle textbooks, and find out who you truly are by approaching the truly existing God.
Wow, spiritual renaissance indeed. You know, you talked about the Sukyo Mahikari, and that's a spiritual training center. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit for me, please?
Sure. The Sukyo Mahikari training centers, and we have some in 200 countries throughout the world, we simply give a divine, powerful light that keeps us in clarity and purpose and rejuvenates the spirit, mind, and body so that we can remain conscious of who we truly are. That is, that we are divine beings.
And where does this light come from?
Quite frankly, it comes from the hand. Now, we could trace back all the way back to whatever.
I mean, the source, does it come from us?
No, it does not come from us. You want me to say it comes from God?
The spiritual source,
Yeah,
the divine.
Spiritual source in the divine.
Yes.
It comes from God, from the divine, and we do a 3-day training, and anyone who's 10 years old or older can learn to give the divine light that comes from divine spirituality in the universe, from God, the Creator God, who is the truly existing God, not the figment of the imagination that churches and religions created to control people and to demand blind faith, blind belief, no matter what. So yes,
That's the God
next
who
question.
That's the God who made everything and everyone.
Everything and everyone,
God. I
every
kinda
gay
figured.
person, every
Yeah.
bisexual person,
Yeah.
every transsexual person, every snail, every microbe in the earth, every flower, every tree, every animal. And as a sidelight, there are gay and lesbian animals. And there are certain species of animals, when there are too many, they become gay and lesbian and stop procreating so that they can preserve the numbers that don't get out of hand.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, in other words, balance is always going to take precedence over everything.
Right. Yep.
So it's our advantage to tune in it with harmony and an acceptance of everything and who we are.
Yep.
And don't beat ourselves up, I guess. As long as we have the element, the positivity of kindness, truth, and the exchange of gratitude, and that's interesting. Wow, man, that's exciting.
Yeah, begin with kindness out there. As I mentioned to you young people before, your parents are unconscious, as 99.9% of all humanity is unconscious. So don't blame them. Once you begin to become enlightened, be kind and be grateful that you, in your youth, have the opportunity to become conscious and live your divinity, not your ego. And I've shared with you before, the story of the chipped cup. I go into a store, buy a cup, the owner wraps it up, I take it home, give it to my wife, and it's chipped. So I have a choice, live out of my divinity or my ego. So I go back to the store and I say, oh, excuse me, Jim, I know the manager because I'm in my divinity. And I say, Jim, you know, that cup I got the other day, it's got a chip. Anything we can do about that? Oh my goodness, and Jim is so embarrassed. He gives me the cup. He said, no, take it for free, please. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. Or, now listen to this, particularly you young people. Listen to how the ego responds. How dare you sell me a chipped cup? Don't you know I'm one of your best customers? You think I'm coming back here ever again? You're crazy. I'm out of here. That's the ego. So I tell this story so you can remember the chipped cup. And when you're in a situation that you claim is bad or doesn't work for you or doesn't serve you, remember you have a choice. Kindness or the ego. No matter where you go or what you do, you have kindness or ego. It's a very simple choice. And if you want to become conscious and begin to live your true self, your true soul, lead always with kindness, no matter what.
Wow, that's it. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Valverde, he talked about kindness, and everyone's born to be great. And to go forth with that spark, that light that's inside of you. Wow, that is so powerful for young people to keep that light shine and to guide your spiritual inner self. Well, anyway, I'm going to go back to Robert because I'm kind of excited. I'm taking it to a whole other level there. But
you're very kind. You're very kind.
Yeah, this is and the science, the spiritual renaissance. Can you elaborate on that again for those who...
The spiritual renaissance is a movement which has already begun. It's like a train headed for a particular destination. You can hop on the train or you can let the train pass you by. I urge you to try getting on the train of the spiritual renaissance, which simply means study either the textbook by Eckhart Tolle or become a giver of divine light and begin your journey. You will be so amazed at how your life is filled with joy, a consistent, powerful joy that allows you to express your divinity, not your ego.
The giver of divine light, the place at 1155 Juniper Cerro there. Yes, 19th and Juniper Cerro. That's the training center.
Yeah, that's one of the training centers. We also have in the city of San Francisco, we have the Downtown Light Center at 310 Sutter Street. And you can call that number if you like. See if I can remember it. 986-1800, 415-986-1800.
415-986-1800.
Right.
Okay.
So, and the center at 1155 Junipero Serra, 415-337-0657.
And the other number again?
337-0657.
Good.
Now at the 1155 Junipero Serra, you can come anytime after 9 a.m. or before 8 p.m. Monday through Friday and 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, good.
You don't need an appointment. Just come on in and receive 10 minutes of light, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you have time for. You do not need an appointment. Now at the Downtown Light Center, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, we are open from 4 to 7, 310 Sutter Street, 3rd floor, 310 Sutter Street, 3rd floor, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. On Wednesday, we actually open at 11 a.m. and we close at 7. So you could also come in at that time, do not need an appointment, 3rd floor, 310 Sutter Street, San Francisco, downtown, right near the Civic Center. Come on in and receive 10, 20, 30, 50 minutes of divine light. So please take it to heart and begin your journey. Get on that train of the spiritual renaissance, which, by the way, is already taking place.
Wow, this is on time. This is very much on time. Yeah. You know, I was down there, Robert, and I was expecting someone to show me or to tell me the things, but I found that there are literature, there are books there that I can't get in the library or on the line, and the information in receiving that powerful light, it kind of complements what's actually going on. Because it's an experience I could never explain. Just they have to go there to feel this newness, this refreshing, revitalizing energy that's within everyone. So the books that is there, I find is very valuable. At the
Yeah, and it's I would say it's very important. Just receive the light.
The light. Yes.
It's not a philosophy.
Yes.
It's not a theology.
I see.
You do not have to believe anything.
Yes.
You just do the 3-day training and give light.
Yes.
And I recommend you go there and just receive. Don't worry about what you have to believe or don't have to believe, this or that. It's like, I use the example of an ATM. Just use it. You don't have to believe in it. Do you believe in your ATM? Or do you just poke it in the wall and get money when you need it?
Yes.
Go to 155 Junipero Serra, San Francisco, or to 310 Sutter Street, 3rd floor in downtown San Francisco, and receive light. I don't know if I can say it many more times. We're going to run out of time here if I have to say it again. But please come. Take to heart what I'm saying. Don't live your life unconscious, run by your ego, filled with torment, and perpetuate that unhappiness with your children. Even if you're gay or lesbian and you adopt or you have a natural birth, you lesbians, don't remain unconscious. You will damage your children just as you were damaged as you were growing up. And finally, what I want to say here is the third item. It said, on the other hand, if you develop a sense of identity, that is, if you become attached, solidly attached, oh, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, then you begin to become more unconscious and look around, well, if I'm lesbian, I should dress like this. Or if I'm gay, I should dress like this. Or if I'm bisexual, this is how I should act. Or if I'm transsexual, well, this is what I have to do. Then you set yourself up with a whole bunch of rules of unconsciousness that your ego absolutely loves. The ego loves rules because it can make people wrong. It can create arguments. People have to be right. They have to be right about condemning, like lesbians and gays. God hates them. The ego loves that. So I urge you, do not accept the phrase, I am gay, I am lesbian, I am bisexual, I am transsexual. The best phrase you can have is, I am a divine being. I am that I am. And you start there, living that as a meditation or a mantra. Take advantage of what I'm showing you here on the board and begin to live a life of divinity, the true soul who you are. Because I tell you, now look at me, I tell you, you are not lesbian. You are not gay. You are not bisexual. You are not transsexual. And you know why I know that? Your soul's not gay. Your soul is not lesbian. Your soul is not Mexican or Italian or Russian or Spanish. Your soul is part of God's soul and does not change. You simply take on a different spiritual path with each lifetime with all the baggage and all the stuff you think you need for a 3-day camping trip, except it's a lifetime. And it is not you. You are not your sleeping bag. You're not your tent. You are not gay, and you are not lesbian. You are not bisexual. You are not transsexual. Those are simply a number of spiritual paths, just like being a Catholic priest, like being Jewish. Being Jewish is not a Jewish soul. The Jews took on that spiritual training for whatever reasons they did. I was Catholic, so I took on Catholic training. That doesn't mean my soul is Catholic or anything else, or Lutheran, or Baptist, or Methodist. You are not lesbian. You are a divine being. Live your divinity and get on this rising energy of the spiritual renaissance. And you'll notice, young women, I've got a special place in my heart for you, because guess what's going on? Women are becoming more and more conscious than men are. Women are regaining, taking back their divine essence. You know that lesbian women were chosen to be the spiritual leaders in tribes and ancient civilizations because they had a second sense and they were honored. And some societies call them two-soul persons. So, I'm pretty much finished with that today, except just begin the journey. Abandon the ego, proceed with kindness, gratitude, humility, and most of all, accept your spiritual training as a spiritual training, not a person who you think you are. I don't know, maybe H.A.P.I has another question for me? Well, clarification, what do you say, H.A.P.I?
I think this is exciting because I think people should always have an ultimatum of a way of understanding of being and acceptance of who they are and the makeup of their internal life. Everyone is uniquely born to be great as who they are. And their condition is always improved by concentrating on their mission, and their life purpose is who they are being.
Right.
That's what I get from you.
Yeah, it's like, I love the analogy that a bamboo tree does not envy a pine tree. Why not? Because the bamboo tree is so thoroughly bamboo, there's no space for envy or criticism. Only when I'll say personally, am not pursuing my divinity, what do? I criticize others, I judge them, so I get to feel superior because I'm not fully living my divinity. When I'm fully living my divinity and present in the moment, there's no space.
The power of now.
There's no space for criticism because I am experiencing my divine soul. I don't need to gossip. I don't need to get upset when something happens that I don't like. And perhaps I've mentioned it before. Do you know that problems don't exist?
Be happy. Why not?
A
Just
problem
be happy.
is what I
Don't
create.
stop.
When something happens that I don't like, I make up a story about it and say, oh, I've got a problem. Oh, I've got a problem. I got a flat tire. Oh, I've got a problem. Oh my goodness. Instead of concentrating with my divinity, well, change the darn tire. Put on the spare tire. Don't make it a problem. So we live with these mythologies. What about a mistake? Mistakes don't exist. Scientists, the great creator who created all in the universe, made no mistakes. But he learned.
Yes.
Just like Einstein or Edison, they didn't make mistakes. They just said, oh, that light bulb didn't burn long enough. Well, let's see, how can I get on with it? They didn't create a problem. They didn't go tell their neighbors, oh, I got a light bulb that didn't work, and I'm so upset, and I've got all these problems. No, he just created another light bulb. So you have the opportunity, moment by moment by moment, to recreate your life coming from your divinity, not from your ego. Remember the chipped cup. You've got the choice. You've got the power. You are not a victim of your spiritual journey. You chose it, accept it, and live out of your divinity. That's your future.
Be happy. Why not? Just be happy. Don't stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was Robert Valverde. He was talking about self-motivation and in the direction of spirituality within yourself. And acceptance, who you are and what you are being. And it's okay to be that. In the New World Order today, spiritual renaissance. And Robert, as it says, for the youth, and Robert Valverde, they can contact you again if they want to email you or text you. What is the way they can do that?
Well, the email is on the board here, you see.
Yes, can you recite it?
Yeah.
In case they can't see very clearly.
BINCLARITY @gmail.com.
Yes, and there's a phone number, of course.
Yeah, so, and if you have trouble reading the Gmail address, call me.
Yeah.
And we'll get together. I'll offer you light, take you to a center, introduce you to the light and my fellow members who are giving divine light to bring about the spiritual renaissance.
Yes, guys, go on down there and form your own opinion. But I guarantee you, it'll be right on time, something you've never experienced before. It's like a breath of fresh air. I'll let you decide that. Yeah, that's 1155 Juniper Cell. That's Juniper Cell in 19th. And yeah, so hang in there. Hey, Robert, let's say goodbye to everyone. Look in the audience and we say goodbye. And,
all right, goodbye. Yep, thank you for listening.
And of course, the word happiness, we don't have to deal with that. You will be happy once you discover that you being yourself is okay because you were born to be great. Thank you and enjoy.
Be happy. Why not? Just be happy. Don't stop.